Alright, what's going on, guys? Quick trade recap for the day. So this was our main trade right here. Did gamble today, so it was pretty terrible, but made it all back on a real trade, so that's alright. It was real bad though, right? So boom, as you guys can see, horrible. Um, well, actually, technically speaking, this was a long. So this was a long position that I ended up closing for like $200 profit. These were, I believe, and then these must have been like break even or a loss, I believe. Pretty sure, yeah. So this was my idea going into the day. Um, Prior to seeing this high swept, it was SMT. ES had already swept it, obviously much earlier than we had, being around 7:30 when we swept it here and 9:30 when we swept it on NQ. So on top of that, I was looking for a new week opening gap to be filled, right? And I just want to check something real quick. So open. So close from Friday, open from Wednesday, I believe. I mean, open from Sunday. Wow, look at that. The tap on, um, this is crazy. Consequent encroachment and just flew up. I didn't really take a trade off that though, so I don't really remember this one. What time is this? 9. Okay, so it was kind of ridiculous that I took this, but this was my idea, I believe. So we obviously had SMT with that high created at open on Sunday. And then we had this sweep right here. Sweep liquidity, or like a turtle soup kind of thing, right? And for me, we put in this high, so I was hoping that would be our final high, because at least I figured it would be a break-even trade because we had all of this low resistance liquidity right here, a bunch of low resistance liquidity, so I figured we'd go down and take that out. This being the change in state of delivery. Now looking at it, obviously it doesn't look super clean because all these gaps and stuff. And it was pre-market. I shouldn't have traded pre-market. But this doesn't seem like the worst trade in the world to me. All right. Obviously, a couple minutes later, like we went into profit a tiny bit, and then like 3 minutes later, just absolutely ripped up to the upside. I should have waited, technically speaking, in hopes that it would do this and I'd get a play off it, right? So this was our first loss. It wasn't a huge loss, though, I don't believe, because yeah, it was only like 100 something bucks, like 115 or something. But I took that loss, right? And then I was like, what am I doing? Why am I trading pre-market? So I obviously did not take another trade till around 10 o'clock was my goal, to just wait till then. I kind of obviously missed out on the trade, being this. Tapped a key level, or like the draw on liquidity to the upside, so that could have been my short position would have been around there, right? So technically speaking, I believe this was the change in state of delivery. So this would have been because I put in the new high. Sorry about that. Put my phone on do not disturb. And technically speaking, I don't think I would have got stopped out, depending on what I would have done. So if I would have waited for a tap in, would have been right around here. Tight stop, obviously only 53, so I could have potentially even put it more just to keep myself safe, right? Targeting really whatever I wanted. Say these relative equal lows, 176 points or 700. So that would have been like a $700 trade, because I probably would have just gone in with 2, because it's such a tight stop. Only problem being, I potentially would have been break even, being that we were up almost 50 points and then flew back. Open. Oh, no, because we opened up here, so we wouldn't have been break even. We're good. So that would have been a beautiful trade. But at that point, I wasn't really paying attention because I was waiting for 10 o'clock. But I told myself that I would do 9:30 a.m. like power of 3, which this could have been the manipulation, right? Get a wick up. Let's see, we don't sweep it completely, but let's see what we do over here. Create SMT, because we swept this one. I wish we would have like swept it completely, and then that would have been a nice entry, but that's alright. So we didn't take that. Over here, this was a pretty stupid trade, I'm pretty sure. So we put in some lows down here, and we still had, I wanted to see the gap filled, and we had these lows, and now these lows that I wanted to take out, right? So I waited for us to go back into this 15-minute. It was kind of the 10 a.m. power of 3, right? So boom, at 10 a.m. we come back into this key level, which is a 15-minute FVG, and then I don't know if I took it like on what time frame. Did I take it on a 3-minute or something? Oh, I took an inverse for value gap play. Right here. I took a 3-minute IFVG. Right here. Went in with 2 cons, I believe. Yep. Went in with 2 cons. I don't really trade. Well, I do, like kind of, but at the same time I don't, because I saw we tap. So we're in a 15-minute. We tap this 3-minute or 5-minute, whatever. We don't have a change of state delivery yet, right? Like technically this would be a change of state delivery, maybe. No, I don't know, because this isn't. Yeah, maybe. So this could have been a potential play. It would have been break even, I think. I wouldn't have made any money from it. But so this was just a stupid play in general. Well, like, kind of. Like, I was bearish. It manipulated higher at 10 o'clock. And we got a inverse from a key level. So that's not a bad trade. My problem with that is, right, so let's see. This should have been the entry. The problem with that trade is I should have gone in with one micro, because it's well above what I want to risk, which is 250 a day. And if I'd only gone in with 1 micro, we only lose half of this, so that's less than $200 on top of this. So that'd be an okay losing day. This trade and this trade, that's an okay losing day. It'd be about like 300 something, but for 2 trades, I don't really mind that too much. And the other part where I messed up was this. This right here is SMT between ES and NQ, and I did not go break even, and that would have saved me, right? I was hoping that we would, after coming back up, I was hoping we'd still tank, because I was still very bearish. I wanted to see the gap filled. I wanted to see all this low resistance liquidity swept, right? So that happened. I lost a lot on that, considering I let it run like 300 something ticks up, and I did it with two micros, so I ended up losing like 300 something dollars on top of losing the 100 already. So I was down about 400, 500 on the day, and at that point I was tilting. I was very mad with the fact that this didn't work out, with the fact that I did 2 micros, because like I knew I wanted to see lower. And I thought this was a decent trade. I don't think this is a bad trade by any means. This one I shouldn't have taken pre-market. I shouldn't have done that, especially with a draw like that so close. I should have waited for at least that and then taken some type of trade. This I'm slightly okay with. We're in a key level, right? We're in a key level, kind of consolidating, just wicking back and forth. We come up at 10 a.m., tap that key level, and we get a reaction off it. We get a clean 3-minute IFVG, and it just didn't work out. But if I would have gone with 1 micro, it would have been better. It would have been a more reasonable loss, and this potentially wouldn't have happened, but it did. So here, this is where I ended up getting out. I'm pretty sure with these micros, I ended up getting out. And then This was glitched, I think, because I did like partials here or whatever, and so my stop said it was 2 cons when really there was only 1 con left because I already took one off. So then it like purchased one or whatever. I don't know, it's confusing. So boom, this isn't really a trade. Then here is where I longed, I believe. I longed and made about 200 bucks because I started gambling. So I made about $200 back, right? And then I was at about 49,500 or like 49,600 ish, around there. And then I was like, all right, bro, like I wanted to full port or like just gamble and do like 5 cons. I was like, screw it, like the account's deep down, like because I was almost at 51,000 at one point, which is $1,000 in profit, and at this point I was down 1,500 from that point. So I had about $500 to play with prior to blowing the account. And I was like, all right, like come on, like what am I doing? So then I took an actual legit trade. So what we did, it was a 5-minute play. So boom, let's get this off the screen because there's a lot going on. So this was a pretty clean trade. So obviously we came back up after taking out some of this sell side liquidity. We were still in the new week opening gap, but I kind of like this area for resistance because obviously we had tapped it a bunch and been rejecting off it, and now we broke below it. So I want to see it act as some type of resistance anyway. We had swept that draw on liquidity that I was hoping for, so we should not go any higher. The real, like the best trade that I could have taken, which I need to keep an eye on for. So we have SMT. This would have been an amazing trade. Change in state delivery that I missed prior, right? Because this is the high of the day. So this is the change in state delivery for me. Wait for it to pull back up to it and then enter. It would have been perfect. We would have been in that key level, which is the 15-minute imbalance. Couldn't even done 15-minute change to delivery, 15-minute order block. But I was on the 5-minute at this point. So because that's where I saw the SMT. 5-minute SMT, because ES came up and tapped this gap and we did not. So that would have been a beautiful entry. I could have gone in heavier there with a much smaller stop, right? But I waited. 15-minute gap, came down, change in state delivery, and obviously we came a little past it because we came down like an extra 66 ticks. So I just put a limit order for right here, right on the change state delivery, did a limit order for 2. Jumped in. Obviously we were like almost never in drawdown, maybe for like a minute or two, and then we just dumped. This was TP right here. I ended up, so once it dumps like this, I'd even recognize this change to delivery right here that we pulled up directly to it. That would have been such a nice entry. But anyway, so it came down here and obviously it was dumping pretty well. So I moved my stop loss. I just dragged it a little bit down like that so that it would give it room to breathe. And as soon as it like broke this, I took my stop loss and moved it right here so that if it came back up and tapped me out, it would be for the normal profit and I wouldn't have lost anything, but it would give me the chance to squeeze out some more. And I like the idea of doing that. Like as long as it's dumping well, and you have to like be willing to go very tight very quick, because like it has the potential to reverse, right? And like if I put it up here, I'm gonna lose out on all this profit. If I don't do it and I'm just like, okay, let's see it go drop down a little bit, could reverse, I miss out on profit. So a lot goes into it. You just have to make sure that you're willing and ready to just quick drop it and get out. But that was the play. Perfect execution. I think this change in state delivery is like extra confluence as like the reaction of this one. But like this is so nice because if we're bearish, it's going to respect that, on top of the fact that that is what created SMT. Draw on liquidity was already swept and we were in a key level. That is a perfect play. And if I got in there, if I had my limit right here, I would have gone in with at least two. And definitely probably been out full here. I don't even know if I would have done like the moving thing. Maybe I would have potentially, but at this point, I mean, 600, 700. Huh. Should I go in? I feel like it was like $700 worth of profit. Maybe I'm tripping. Sell two, yeah. I could have sworn it was like $700 worth of profit over here. For two micros. So, I don't know. Because like $1 per tick for 2 micros, I figured. So this would be 785. But I swore I made more than 638. But maybe that was the case. I don't know. But yeah, so then that trade made up for all the losses plus some. So we ended up like plus 220 on the day. Not bad. I'm just really disappointed because if I would have just waited, I was bearish. 100% knew I was bearish, right? So if I didn't take this trade, only take this trade, which wasn't a bad trade by any means, but take it with 1 micro instead, right? Then that means how much we lost? Open. So yeah, we would have lost like we said 100, like 80 or something like that. Not 200. A little less than 200, right? And then if we lose that and then take this, then we end up like plus 400 on the day, right? And obviously it's not a crazy difference. I mean, $200, yeah. I mean, to me, that's a pretty nice difference. Like if I have multiple XFAs and I make $200 on each account, like if I have 5 accounts, that's a band. A band difference between making 200 and making 400. Obviously, if I make 400, that's gonna be 2,000, and 200 be 1,000. So it's obviously a massive difference. But I was very proud of this trade. Obviously, now looking back on it, that 5-minute change. I mean, that even like realistically, I like the 15-minute. I tried to stay on 15-minute and 1 minute. 15-minute change in state of delivery off the high that swept our drawn liquidity. While we're in an imbalance, that would have been a beautiful, beautiful entry. But we didn't take it. I don't really care. Ended up good on the day. It's just I really got to get my mental in check because this gambling is not going to work. Like I saved myself a little bit and made like $200 off it, and that's actually what ended up making me profitable because if I don't make that 200 or whatever it was right around there, this just puts me at break even on the day, right? So that 200 right there is the reason that I made 200 on the day. But yeah, that's about it, guys. I mean, I'm not the happiest with the day, right? But this trade by itself, I'm very pleased with. And yeah, that's really about it. I will catch you guys tomorrow. Peace.